My friend Mind Over Everything sent me a message, asked if I could do a quick video on my winch setup and the car retrieval kit that I carry in my vehicle for wintertime. You know, everyone has their own ideas on how a truck should be accessorized, what you need or may not need, and this is not something that everyone's going to need, but for me, it's absolutely essential. I use it all the time. It's a Warren electric winch. This is a mid-size winch, 9,000 pound straight line pull with, I don't know, probably a little over 100, maybe 125 feet of wire rope on it. Now, the way you mount these things, it's really important. And what I've had them mounted solidly. Most times when you get a winch, they're going to sell you a winch bumper and it's going to be mounted permanently on the front. It means you cannot remove it. I don't like that. Sometimes you nose into trouble and the only way that you can get out is in reverse. And if you have the winch mounted on the front, that's not going to do you any good at all. And before you click off this video and say, this is not something that interests me, I'm not going to ever have a winch, I'm going to show you some things that you can carry in your truck that will give you the ability to do almost the same thing without the expense of a winch. But if you do decide to get a winch, what I've done is I've built a drawbar that mounts to the frame on the front of the truck with the 2-inch receiver hitch on here. And I've built this portable mount by just getting a trailer hitch and a big 1/4 inch or 5/16 plate of steel on there, welding it on there, drilling the holes and mounting it. This way, I can remove this winch and slide it in the rear receiver of the truck. So here's the back of my truck. You can see here's the rear receiver. So that winch, that multi-mount I built will just go right into the trailer receiver there. I can plug it in and have the capability to winch backwards. I've seen guys that put front and rear winches on their vehicles. I guess that's one way to do it, but you can accomplish the same thing with a lot less money by going this route here. Now, of course, you can buy the multi-mount mounts from Warren Industries yourself, or from them, or you can make one yourself. But what I do is I get these heavy-duty plugs. I don't remember what they're called. Anderson Power Products, and they use them on forklift batteries. And I've got a short lead off the winch motor, and this simply plugs in here in the front, as well as my jumper cables have that same capability. I plug in the front or the rear, I can reach anything, jumpstart people, whatever. If you do, make sure you order the caps. When you're not using it, it keeps a lot of the road grime out. I tie it on there with a piece of crimped aviation cable there. But this gives you so much versatility. Not only that, but I've got a 16-foot trailer that I've also welded a receiver on the front that I can take this winch and I can pull cars or heavy loads up on with just having the one winch. Also, take the time and mount some really good sturdy hooks on the front. I don't know why a truck would come from the factory without a good sturdy hook front and rear that you could actually use it for. Also, accessory lighting is so important, especially when you live in the country. I flip these on, and I like the Pias. They're some of the best lights that money can buy. You're going to pay extra for them, but man, they'll just work and work forever. Just to be able to see a long distance, to avoid deer, all of that. I mean, the light, by missing a deer, the light will pay for itself, 10 times over. And certainly, the last thing, something you definitely don't want to overlook is you want a roller Fairlead on the front. What a roller Fairlead does, as you can see, it will roll in all directions. So if you pull at extreme angles, which you're never going to be able to pull everything perfectly straight, what this does is it gives a rolling surface for the cable to go across that won't be a pinch point and has a lot less tendency to break your cable. This is an absolute must to have. So what winch should you buy? Who makes a good winch? I'm partial to Warren because they're a Northwest company. That was my first job out of high school, is I worked in the Warren factory building these winches right here. So I know a lot about them. Mile Marker makes a decent winch. Ramsey makes a good winch. There's probably others out there, some new ones that I'm not real familiar with. I stay away from the Harbor Freight winches unless you have no other choice. I wouldn't find those suitable for anything other than maybe a car winch. But if you want something like this, these things, they're electric, they're prone to failure. Anything that's got electricity involved in it is going to give you trouble one way or another. Just these premium winches are going to give you less trouble. You don't need to buy a new one. You can buy them quite a bit less money on Craigslist used. And I'll tell you, they are money well spent, and they're an investment that will always hold its value. I also like to keep the rain cover. These factory worn rain covers are really good. They're really tough. They stay on well with a couple bungees, and it really helps. Of course, the winches are sealed against weather, but it only makes sense to protect it as much as possible. You're going to pay, in excess of $1,000 for something like this at least. And by the time you get it all rigged out and you want to look after it. I've had this winch for years and years, and I just keep the cover on it and clean the electrical contacts once in a while, and never have any problems with it. So I know what you're thinking. Yeah, it'd be nice to have a $1,000 winch, but it's just not in my budget. I want to be prepared. I want to be able to handle emergencies or situations, but I can't afford that. Well, I'll tell you what. Here is one of the next best options. A handyman jack, or high lift jack. One of man's greatest inventions. What you can do with this thing is limitless. Sometimes I think about what the pioneers would have thought if you could have given all of them to put one of these in their Conestogas as they were crossing the Rockies, what they could have accomplished with these things. What it is, it's a very strong and robust jack that it gives you the ability not only to jack, but to spread things, but it also works as a great winch. If you look at these, get the High Lift brand. Don't buy any Chinese knockoffs. Don't buy anything that doesn't say a High Lift on it. You see right here on the heavy cast lifter jaw there is a hole you can put a shackle. You can put a chain through there. And on the other end, you have this portion here, which you can also get a shackle or a chain on. Where you have there. And by jacking it apart, it'll go both ways. Whichever way you flip the switch here, it will lift or it will push or spread or pull, however you want to say it. And you can, yes, it takes a long time, but if you're stuck in a snowbank or a drift, usually it's not very far you have to come. I mean, usually just a few feet to get some traction or get back up on the tires. If you have some old carpet or something you could throw under there, that works really good. But a handyman jack, less than $100. I see them oftentimes at garage sales, estate sales for half of that. Is something that's indispensable. I would not want to have a truck not equipped with one of these. If you want to step up from the handyman jack, I've got your Huckleberry here. The pull's more power puller. Man, these are great tools. Been around a long time. Super robust, super high quality. A little bit expensive. You're going to be back up in the $300 range or so. But the nice thing about this is it's completely portable. Now, I've talked to the manufacturer about these, and they are rating this thing at 3,000 pound straight line pull. If you put the included pulley on there, you can double that. But the truth of the matter is this, they're not going to tell you this at the factory. I've worked with these quite a bit. I'll bet they pull double that, if not triple. They're not going to say that. They've got insurance issues on that, but this thing will pull a tremendous amount. And if you're working load or whatever it is you need to do is too far away from your truck, let's say over 100 feet or so, you can wrap this thing around the tree. It's not so heavy that you can't carry it in a backpack. You can do just almost anything with it. It's really, really wonderful. These two tools, what a great 1-2 punch for homesteading jobs. I can't even go into how versatile they are, but it is an option, and it's not so big that you can't carry it. Now, be careful if you're putting your kit together in your SUV. You don't want all this metal in your cab. When I was a career firefighter in Colorado, I ran Interstate 80, a lot of car wrecks. I was a lead medic on the engine. I saw a lot of horrible, horrible things, and a lot of people got hurt because of things that they put in their vehicles. Can you imagine this thing at 18, 20 pounds, whatever it is, loose in the canopy in your car? If you have multiple rollovers or your family in there, it would kill everyone inside. I'm certainly getting off topic a little bit here, but it's part of it. Storage. I mean, if you're going to have a pickup truck, you need to carry these tools. I carry chainsaws, I carry chains, tools. I've got a lot of things in here that I carry because I want to be able to handle any situation that might come up. As part of the local volunteer fire department, sometimes it's quicker for me to respond directly with my truck than it is to come back and get the engine. And if conditions are really bad like it is today, maybe the engine's chained up, maybe it's not. My truck always is ready, and that's kind of why I go overboard. So for me, I think the best way to store your tools in the back of your truck is one of these toolboxes, and there's just no finer box than WeatherGuard or ProTech. I think Delta still makes a pretty good box too in their commercial side, but huge investment. I know all these things are expensive and hard to acquire. A toolbox like this is $700, $800 or so. But I'll tell you a funny story here. A story about these locks. These locks that they put on the WeatherGuard boxes are really first rate. When I was working construction, I had thousands of dollars worth of tools in this very toolbox right here. I came out in the morning to go to work, and I'd noticed that the lock was all jimmied and broken, and that someone had tried to pry it off and get into the toolbox to steal thousands and thousands of dollars worth of power tools and nailers and such. And then I saw down the side, which was really gratifying to me, a lot of blood. Somebody had taken the screwdriver, some thief, and tried to break that off there, and in the process jabbed himself in the hand quite badly and bled all over the truck and down the side, but did not get this open. So, should I save any money by buying a cheap Cobalt or Home Depot style toolbox that's a low quality? That any one of those, I could be in one of those things in 30 seconds, if not less. But these, not so much. So, what if you have chainsaws inside? Is it worth spending $700 on a lock that will keep your stuff secured? And just briefly, the saddle style is the best. You don't want a box that sits down in the bed because you just took 2 feet out of your bed. And if you have a short bed pickup, then you have a 4-foot bed and you can't do anything with it. You can't carry lumber or anything. This gets the box up off the sides. You have the bottom. You can slip a full sheet of plywood. You can get 10, 12 sheets of plywood underneath there. Still close the tailgate, 2x4s, all that, so you don't lose that functionality of having the long bed. Goodness. Going on and on. We still haven't got to the bag yet. All right, let's get into the contents of the bag. First thing you want in your retrieval kit, a good heavy bag. This is my old fire bag that the zipper broke on. It still works perfectly for this. You want a tarp. Cheap tarp, take a 8x8, 10x10, 12x12, whatever. You're going to be laying underneath the vehicle in snow and sleet and ice, and you're going to get soaking wet. This right here it's what you want. You can lay that thing down, and you can stay dry. It's absolutely the way to go. Let's go into straps here. So a retrieval strap, a 20-foot retrieval strap it's an investment if you buy a brand new one, but I'll tell you how to get them cheap. So if you go online on eBay, or if you know anyone who works for a big construction company, or especially one that deals with cranes, crane companies use these super heavy, highest quality straps. What's this thing rated for? It says on there, I mean, something ridiculous. 12,800 pounds at least, and you can probably double that, engineers, CYA. So what they do is that once they can't certify them, or they've used them for the certain amount of time, they have to retire them. And usually they give them away to the guys that work for them, and then those guys in turn sell them. And there's a lot of those on eBay. They're perfectly fine. That's where I got this one. Nothing wrong with it, but you buy it for $10 or $20 instead of $200, whatever these things cost. That's a way you can get them to save a few bucks. Now, of course, your kit's going to have to be kind of customized depending on what your area is. We live in the timber country, so there's almost always a tree to hook onto or do something with. But if you live out in Arizona and you don't have that, and guys get stuck in sand, maybe you want to look at a land anchor. You have to kind of tailor your kit specifically to what your area is like. And if I didn't say already, a piece of carpet to throw in your toolbox. Line the bottom of your toolbox with it, and then if you get in a pinch, you can take it out, cut it in 2 pieces, and that makes a great traction mat for if you don't have a winch or just kind of an impromptu. These are tree straps right here, and these are one of the few things that I have gotten from Home Depot, or that I buy from Harbor Freight, because they're such a good value, and it's just something that I don't need the top of the line. It's going to go around the tree. These are rated for 6,400 pounds. I'll guarantee you they'll hold a lot more than that, because I have put a lot more than that on them. But these are really great. Some people call them soft straps, but you don't want to wrap a chain around a tree and damage the bark and destroy the tree. And by putting a soft strap on like that, it saves the tree. It won't do it any harm, and you can use it as an anchor. And I carry 2 of these because they're not very long. We have some huge trees, and there's lots of trees that this won't go around. So I can hook these 2 together, and that gives me, and not only for trees, but you can use them to extend your main line. You can use them for, I can't even go into all the ways that you can use them, but these 3 straps right here I've never needed anything more than this. You're also a must-have is going to be chains. So what's best? How many chains do you need? I carry a 20 and 2 10s. If I was going to break it down, I would rather have, I had to make a choice, 2 10s. Gives you more options. You can hook the 2 10s together and make a 20, or you have chains. It's just nice to have options. But you know, because I do a lot of winching in the area, and the neighbors called, and I'm always out doing that stuff in the wintertime, I carry an extra one. But 2 10s would be ideal. At least 1 10 would be minimum. What size? 3/8. 5/16 would be absolutely minimum. 3/8 would be better. This is a 5/16 chain with a 3/8 hook. I have a real pet peeve about chains. It just staggers me how many guys don't know this. I recently pulled out a guy that was a mechanical engineer. Stamped mechanical engineer. When he was helping me rig to pull out his chain, to pull out his car, and when I just assumed a mechanical engineer of all people would understand this and know how the stuff works. I came back to unrig everything, and he had the chain hooked like this. Man, I'll tell you what, I'll never forget the day that I was a young lad out of high school, got a job with my first excavating company. And there was this foreman there. He was terrified. He terrified all of us. We called him Arms. His name was Larry, because his arms were about the size of a horse's rear leg. I mean, he was just a ferocious guy with a terrible temper, just a scary, scary guy. I knew better at the time, but something happened, and he was yelling at me or whatever, and I needed to and I hooked it in like that, and he found out, he saw that. I'll tell you what, never made that mistake twice. Whatever you do, never, never, never hook a chain like this. That's not the way they're designed. Hook a chain back to itself like that. That's the way it should be done. Never, don't hook it over don't hook your chain on your soft strap like that. That's a sharp edge right there. That's almost a chisel cut right there. You put a load on there, that'll slice right through that thing, and that chain will come back and kill somebody or damage equipment. I'll show you how to connect these two here in a minute. But when you hook your chains, make sure you hook them back to themselves, just like that. Man, I hope you guys enjoy watching these type of videos as much as I do making them. I like being prepared. My granddad, he was always prepared. We used to go elk hunting, and man, my granddad one time, this was when it was just little, but they went hunting one time, and he threw a main bearing on his truck, which is a pretty major thing. He had the tools. He limped over to a auto parts store and actually changed the main bearing on the crank on the side of the road and made opening morning. That's the type of guy my granddad was, to give you any idea. Okay, so here's our bits and pieces, kind of our small accessory kit. This is going to wrap it up, I promise. If you've got a winch, of course, you want to make sure you have your winch controller. This is the remote controller that brings in your cable forward and back. It plugs into the winch, and you want to keep it out of the weather. You don't want to keep it outside. A couple road flares. Great idea. Have a couple road flares in there. So you don't get ran over. You don't want to be underneath of a vehicle when someone comes around the corner and plows into it. So having a couple road flares at least is really wonderful to have. Another essential, not that any of this isn't essential, is what they call a block. Some people will call it a snatch block, and it's a heavy cable or heavy pulley that will allow you to do a gear reduction on your winches. So if you run your winch out and you hook this to the vehicle and back, you can double your pulling power each time you add a pulley. It's an incredible thing to have, as well as you can redirect a winch line. So let's say your truck is here and your load is over here and you have a tree here, you can redirect. So you can change the angle, because you can't always pull straight. And so it is an essential part. The reason why it flips open like that is so you can put your cable inside of it, snatch it closed, and then put a shackle on it. A shackle, while we're at shackles, is this. I have a really bad tendency of calling shackles clevises, but they're not clevises, these are shackles. And what a shackle it gives you the ability to do is to hook on to all sorts of loads. Most import cars that you'll see on the front and the back is a really solid purchase point that they use for tying them down when they bring them over on the car carriers. And that's a great point to pull someone out. I have seen people throw chains around bumpers, and I'm not always there. I don't always understand exactly what the conditions are, but man, you can really do thousands of dollars of damage. And then how have you helped someone? They could have called a wrecker out there that would have done it properly and cost them maybe $300, $400, $500, and you just pulled their whole front suspension out, and now you're going to cost them $3,000. So having several sizes of shackles like this is really essential, as well as we talked about earlier. How do you connect your chain to your soft strap? Right there. That's how you connect them. You can use that to connect those two. So do you need 3 of these? You don't. 2 is usually good. Make sure that they fit your block. Make sure that you can get them inside your largest straps, toe strap, whatever it is, and that's all you need. And some of the final things is keep a pair of gloves in your kit. The gloves that I don't like these particularly wearing them too much, but these Atlas cotton jersey with the rubber on them are really great for doing tire chains and rigging because it keeps your hands dry. Your leather gloves are going to get soaked, and then they'll freeze and they get slimy, and they're just not great for this type of work. Where these are cheap. You can get them for $2 or $3 at any hardware store and put those in your kit. They'll keep your hands warm, and they have enough rubber on the front where they'll keep your hands dry, and you have really good dexterity and grip with them. I also keep in this kit a pair of, don't put your good vice grips in here, but I mean, how many of us don't have a pair of Chinese vice grips, laying around there, or a good pair of pliers, because these guys here are notorious for getting sticky. They do have a hole in them, so you can take a chisel if you have one, or a punch, and get them open, but these can really be a bugbear if you don't have a pair of pliers handy. You should have a good toolkit in your toolbox, but this is something that you'd want to have. And then a Sharpie, because every time you pull someone out, they're very grateful, and they want your name and address so they can send you some cookies or baked goods or a letter or whatever. So have the Sharpie, because you will be asked. You'll save the day. So let's wrap it up. So a lot of you watching may think that this is just complete overkill, but it really isn't if you live in this environment. Is this a kit you're going to need to carry in your SUV if you live in the city? No, of course not. But there's things that you can incorporate. Wouldn't be a bad idea to have a chain or a toe strap and a shackle or two. Those things can really come in handy. I can't, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, it happens that I've had my neighbor call in the middle of the night, 1 o'clock in the morning, and say that, a couple of young kids, a couple of girls have turned their car over and they're pinned and they can't get out, and they've been there for a couple hours, and the fire department may or may not show up. They couldn't show up for hours. So having these things not only for my own use, but I feel, I don't know, maybe it's just that I have that mentality for working with the fire department and being a member of the fire department, that I have learned to be prepared, and I've seen so much horror, and I've seen so many terrible accidents, and I have been able to, I feel very blessed to be able to relieve pain and suffering and loss of property and those things because of the preparations of the fire department, because of even my own preparations. It happens from time to time, and there's just nothing that feels better than that. I think it's the essence of manhood is to do whatever you can in your power to relieve the suffering, and to be able to help your neighbors, whoever that may be. It doesn't even mean you need to know them, but just some things to consider. This is not the definitive list, and this is not, I'm not saying that you need to have all these things, or this is even the best. It's just my experience being brought to bear in the situation, which is considerable, because I grew up elk hunting and driving in the snow, and I've just got a lot of experience with it, off-roading and such, and so that's why we're here. We're here to learn from each other. So add what you think may be lacking in the list, and I like to read those comments, and because I enjoy hearing from experience, so I can make my kit better. Because I've got no ego in here. I'm simply just sharing what is a culmination of items that has worked well for me, that have been 20 years or so in the building. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next video. 24 minutes. These videos are getting out of hand. I've had a change of thought on this. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but so many of you have contacted me and said when I was doing videos that were 10, 12 minutes long, like, these videos are too short, we want longer videos. YouTube for us has taken the place of television. And people are not unaccustomed to sitting down and watching a program for 30 minutes or so. So is it too much to ask to make your videos longer? And so I have been trying to do that and making these videos a bit longer. But man, when I do the upload, I just think, oh, should I have cut half that out of there? Are these going on too long? So I need feedback, because I don't know what it looks like at the other end. It's easy to get kind of myopic on my end and have this impression kind of what people are thinking, and are they enjoying the videos. I mean, the audience retention is fantastic. It's always been in the 60s and 70%. But I want to know, let me know, would this be better to break up into a 2-part series? Is that more easier to watch or to consume? But I don't know. I just don't know. Let me know what you think. So thanks for watching. If you wouldn't mind taking a moment to click the thumbs up, I would appreciate that. Commenting is always appreciated. Mrs. W and I, it's one of our favorite pastimes in the morning to read through the comments. We receive a tremendous amount of encouragement, and the support that I receive in the comments really invigorates me to produce more content, and oftentimes gives me the very ideas like this video. This video would have never taken place had it not been for a subscriber's request. So that's what makes YouTube so great. It's personal, and we can learn together. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next video.